Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. New York City had fallen eerily silent. For a city that thrived on noise, the honking of taxis, the chatter of pedestrians, the constant rumble of the subway beneath it was unnatural. The only sound was a strange ethereal melody, faint but omnipresent, wrapping the city in an invisible cocoon of sound. And in the middle of it all, walking down the deserted streets in his usual red and black suit, was Deadpool. Is it just me, or did New York suddenly become a ghost town? Deadpool muttered to himself as he twirled one of his katanas absent-mindedly. I didn't get the memo about the end of the world, but then again, maybe I lost it in my junk mail. That thing is full of Nigerian princes asking for money. He took a few more steps and stopped in front of a hot dog stand. The vendor was standing there, frozen, his hand mid-reach for a bun. Deadpool waved his hand in front of the vendor's face. No reaction. The man didn't. Teddy blinked, but didn't move. Yep, this is some next-level weirdness. Even for New York, Deadpool frowned beneath his mask, squinting at the vendor. Not even a hot dog. What a tragedy. Then he heard it faint at first, but growing louder with every step. A melody unlike anything he'd ever heard before was playing over the city's loud speakers. It wasn't just music, it was something else, something darker, more insidious. It vibrated through the streets, echoing off the buildings, wrapping around everything. Deadpool wasn't a fan of classical music, but this was straight up sinister. As he strolled along, he began to notice the people. They were all standing still, every single one of them. Like mannequins in a storefront, their faces blank, their eyes glassy. It was as if someone had hit the pause button on the entire city. Well, if this isn't creepy, I don't know what is. Deadpool muttered as he examined a group of frozen pedestrians. Okay, fine, creepy might be my middle name, but even I am not into this kind of frozen in time, Stepford wives, mind-controlled nonsense. I mean, what happened to good old-fashioned chaos? Suddenly, he felt something, a presence behind him. Deadpool turned, ready to quip, but his usual banter died in his throat. Standing there in the middle of the street was Spider-Man. But this wasn't the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man he knew. His posture was rigid, his movements mechanical, and his eyes behind that mask were blank. He lunged at Deadpool with a precision that sent alarm bells ringing in Wade's sad head. Whoa, Spidey, hold up. Didn't you think we were on punching terms? Deadpool dodged the first strike, flipping backward with his usual acrobatic flair. I get it. You're upset I didn't call, but trust me, this is not the way to handle our relationship issues. Spider-Man didn't respond. He just kept attacking faster and more aggressive with each move. All right, time to cut to the chase, or, the slicing part of the chase. Deadpool swung his katana with expert precision, forcing Spider-Man to retreat momentarily. But as he did, more figures appeared from the shadows. Captain America, Black Widow, even the Hulk, each of them moving with the same eerie robotic precision. Okay, this is officially above my pay grade, Deadpool muttered as he backflipped onto a nearby fire escape. He barely had time to react before Captain America's shield came whizzing toward him. He dodged it by a hair, the metal disc embedding itself into the brick wall behind him. No offense, Cap, but I am more of a guns guy. Deadpool reached into his holsters, pulling out twin pistol. He fired off a few rounds, not really aiming to kill, just enough to slow them down. But it didn't seem to matter. They kept coming, relentless and unstoppable. Oh man, this is not gonna be fun. Deadpool sighed, then leaped off the fire escape, running full tilt down the street. Whoever is orchestrating this, they've got one hell of a playlist. Deadpool made his way to the heart of the city, ducking and weaving through the chaos that had erupted. Heroes, civilians, everyone was under some kind of spell. The melody continued to pulse through the streets like a heartbeat, controlling the masses. Deadpool wasn't sure why he wasn't affected. Maybe it was his healing factor. Maybe it was his mind being too fragmented to control, but he wasn't complaining. For once, being a little bit insane was paying off. As he turned a corner, he came face to face with someone he hadn't expected to see. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, hovered in the air, her eyes glowing a deep, ominous red. Unlike the others, she wasn't frozen. No, she was moving. And worse, she was aiming her chaos magic directly at him. Wanda, darling, Deadpool called out, trying to keep his tone light. Looking good as ever, new magic tricks. Because let me tell you, I am loving the floating, evil sorceress vibe. Very classic. Wanda didn't need to respond. She simply raised her hands, and the world around Deadpool began to shift. Buildings twisted. The ground cracked open and reality itself seemed to warp. Okay, this is definitely not good, Deadpool muttered as he unsheathed his katanas again, ready for a fight. But hey, I am always up for a good old-fashioned beatdown. Let's see dance. Scarlet. With a flick of her wrist, Wanda sent a wave of red energy toward him. Deadpool barely had time to react before the force of the blast sent him flying backward, crashing into a storefront. Glass shattered around him, but he quickly got back to his feet, his healing factor kicking in almost instantly. All right, fine, you want to play rough? Deadpool charged forward, dodging another blast of chaos magic. He swung his katanas with precision, aiming for her magical shields, but each strike seemed to bounce off harmlessly. You know, this would be a lot easier if you'd just talk to me, Deadpool shouted as he ducked under a flying car that Wanda had telekinetically hurled his way. We could work this out over some shawarma or something. But there was no talking. Wanda was under the control of the Master Symphony, her powers amplified by the melody that still echoed through the city. And Deadpool, he was stuck trying to fight one of the most powerful beings on Earth, armed with nothing but his katanas, a couple of guns, and his mouth. As the battle raged on, Deadpool realized he couldn't win this through brute force. Wanda was too powerful, too far gone. He needed a plan, something clever, something that didn't involve getting blown to pieces. Okay, think he dodged another blast. This one ripping a chunk of concrete out of the ground. She's under the influence of the music, so maybe I just need to cut the power. He glanced up, spotting one of the massive speakers that had been installed across the city. They were broadcasting the symphony, the source of all this madness. If he could destroy the speakers, maybe he could weaken the Master's control over Wanda. Deadpool sprinted toward the nearest speaker, zigzagging through the chaotic battlefield. Wanda followed, her red energy crackling through the air like lightning. Just as she unleashed another blast, Deadpool leaped into the air, his katanas raised high. He brought them down on the speaker, slicing through the wires in a single fluid motion. The music stopped, at least from that speaker, and for a moment Wanda faltered, her glowing red eyes dimmed slightly, her magic flickering. Yes, 1 down, 1,000,000 more to go, Deadpool said, wiping the imaginary sweat from his brow. But hey, baby steps, right? Wanda shook her head as if trying to clear her thoughts, but the symphony's grip on her was too strong. She roared in frustration, her powers surging once again, but Deadpool had seen the weakness now. The speakers were the key. If he could destroy enough of them, maybe he could free Wanda. All right, Maestro, Deadpool muttered, his eyes narrowing as he looked toward the city's skyline. Let's see how you like it when I pull the plug on your little concert. Deadpool sprinted across the city, crumbling streets, dodging debris, magic blasts, and the occasional mind-controlled hero as Wanda relentlessly pursued him. He had managed to destroy one of the speakers, but there were countless more scattered across the city, all broadcasting that eerie symphony. The music was still in control, and it was only a matter of time before it wore him down, even with his healing factor. Okay, Wade, you've got one shot at this, he muttered to himself, keeping his voice low as he ducked behind a parked car. He could hear Wanda's chaotic energy crackling through the air just a few blocks away. Gotta find that Maestro before Wanda turns me into a chimichanga. Deadpool's mind raced, trying to piece together a plan. He had figured out the key, those damn speakers, but he knew he couldn't keep up with Wanda forever. Her magic was too powerful, and she wasn't going to let him get away. He needed to find the source of the symphony and end this once and for all. With his eyes scanning the city, Deadpool spotted an old abandoned concert hall in the distance. It loomed ominously at the heart of the chaos, dark and foreboding, like something out of a bad horror movie. Of course, that would be the Master's lair. Where else would a villain obsessed with Soundwave's hype? Deadpool darted from cover, sprinting toward the concert hall with everything he had. Wanda was still chasing him, but he could sense that the music's grip on her was weakening. Every speaker he destroyed, every time he disrupted the symphony, her control wavered. He just had to hold out long enough. The entrance to the concert hall was a pair of grand gilded doors, cracked and worn from years of disuse. Deadpool kicked them open with dramatic flair, sliding inside and closing them behind him just in time to avoid another magical blast. He could hear Wanda outside slamming against the doors, but for now he had bought himself a few precious seconds. The interior of the concert hall was just as grand as he'd imagined, with rows of plush red seats and a massive chandelier hanging from the ceiling. The stage at the far end of the room was set up with a massive organ, its pipes towering high above the stage like some twisted cathedral of sound. And there, sitting at the organ, his fingers dancing across the keys with impossible speed, was Ludwig Strauss, the maestro. Strauss was dressed in a flowing black coat, his silver hair pulled back into a tight ponytail. His eyes were wild, darting between the sheet music in front of him and the city outside. He played with a manic intensity, his fingers never slowing as they commanded the symphony that had taken control of the entire city. Deadpool didn't waste any time. He pulled out his guns and aimed them at the Mech. "Hey Mozart, how about you play me a farewell tune? Something nice and dramatic, before I shoot your face off." Strauss didn't flinch. He didn't even look at Deadpool. Instead, he continued to play, the music pouring out of the organ-sized pipes with even greater intensity. The symphony's power surged through the concert hall, and Deadpool could feel it, like a physical force pushing against him. "Dude, seriously, I'm gonna blow your brains out if you don't stop." Deadpool fired a warning shot into the air, but still Strauss didn't respond. His fingers moved faster, the music growing louder, more discordant. It wasn't just a melody anymore. It was chaos, pure and unrelenting. And then the doors behind Deadpool exploded inward. Wanda stormed into the hall, her eyes burning with red energy. She raised her hands, and reality itself seemed to ripple as her magic warped the space around her. "Wanda, sweetie," Deadpool said, backing away from the blast radius. "Let's calm down for a second, okay? I know we under some kind of evil magic musician spell, but this is a little much. I am trying to save the day here." But Wanda didn't listen. She unleashed a torrent of chaos magic, and the entire concert hall shook as if caught in a massive earthquake. The chandelier above them swayed dangerously, and pieces of the ceiling began to crumble. Deadpool dodged the falling debris, ducking behind a row of seats. "Okay, I get it. You were mad, but we save this for, I don't know, a therapy session later?" He peeked over the top of the seats just in time to see Strauss smile. It was a cold, twisted smile full of malice and satisfaction. He was enjoying this, watching Wanda tear the world apart while his symphony continued to play. Deadpool knew he had to act fast. If Strauss wasn't stopped, Wanda would level the entire city in her blind rage. But he also knew he couldn't just shoot the guy. It wouldn't be that easy. Strauss was connected to the music in some way, feeding off it. Destroying the symphony was the only way to break his control. Deadpool leaped out from his cover, sprinting toward the stage. "All right, Maestro, time for your grand finale." He reached the organ and swung his katana at the pipes, slicing through them with one powerful strike. The music faltered for a brief second, and Strauss' hands still on the keys. His wild eyes darted to Deadpool, fury burning behind them. You fool," Strauss hissed, his voice like venom. "You think you can destroy my work? My masterpiece?" "Yes, that's kind of the plan." Deadpool grinned beneath his mask, raising his katana for another strike. "I'm not exactly an art critic, but I think your masterpiece is giving everyone a serious headache." Before Deadpool could land another blow, Strauss pressed one final key on the organ. A deafening note rang out, piercing through the concert hall and shaking the very foundation of the building. Deadpool stumbled, the force of the sound knocking him off his feet. Wanda screamed, clutching her head as the music tore through her mind. The symphony had reached its crescendo, and it was overpowering everything: her magic, her will, even the fabric of reality itself. Deadpool struggled to stand, his ears ringing. He glanced up at Strauss, who had risen from the organ, his arms raised triumphantly. "You're too late," Deadpool. Strauss said, his voice echoing through the hall. "The symphony is complete. The city is mine, and soon the world will fall under my control." Deadpool gritted his teeth, ignoring the throbbing pain in his head. "Yeah, well, I've got one last encore for you." He reached into his utility belt and pulled out a small device, a handheld MP head swiped from Tony Stark's months ago. He had been saving it for a special occasion, and this definitely qualified. With a flick of his thumb, he activated the device and tossed it toward the organ. The MP detonated with a loud crack, sending a pulse of energy through the air. The organ sparked and sputtered, its pipes letting out a distorted, dying wail. The symphony faltered, the notes becoming jagged and disjointed. Strauss screamed in fury as his control over the music slipped. Wanda collapsed to her knees, her magic flickering and fading as the symphony falls. Hold on her broke. Deadpool, panting from the effort, stood up and dusted off his suit. Well, that wasn't so hard. Strauss turned on him, his face twisted in rage. You will pay for this. My music was supposed to reshape the world. Deadpool shrugged, holstering his katanas. Yeah, about that. The world's not really into the whole evil master vibe. Maybe next time try something more mainstream, like pop or country. Before Strauss could respond, Wanda stood up, her eyes no longer glowing with magic, but filled with fury. With one swift motion, she raised her hand and unleashed a final surge of chaos magic. Strauss's was lifted into the air, his body convulsing as the magic tore through him, as DeMastro's screams were drowned out by the sound of his own dying symphony. The organ let out one final discordant note before collapsing in on itself, the pipes crumbling into dust. Wanda lowered her hand, breathing heavily. She turned to Deadpool, her expression a mix of exhaustion and relief. Thanks, she said quietly, her voice hoarse from the strain. Deadpool gave her a mock salute. No problem, Red. Just doing what I do best, saving the day and looking good while doing it. Wanda shook her head, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. You really are insufferable, you know that. Yeah, but you love me for it, Deadpool replied with a wink. As the dust settled and the concert hall fell silent, the city outside began to stir. The symphony was over and the people were waking up from their trance. The heroes, too, were coming back to themselves, shaking off the effects of the music. Deadpool glanced around, taking in the aftermath of the chaos. Well, another day, another crisis averted, just another Tuesday in New York. Am I right? Wanda rolled her eyes, but didn't he argue together? They walked out of the concert hall, leaving the remnants of the maestro's twisted symphony behind them.